Hi, third grade friends. Today is Friday, and we have a basically post-test from the last unit. We didn't start with a pre-test because we left for before we could do that. So we do have a post-test, and so we're going to do a little review before we do that. So you're going to see, we're going to do some example ones, and then I'm going to ask you to do the assessment, the quick quiz. All right, so we're going to start with rounding to the nearest 100. And so if you remember, so make sure that you know exactly what you're rounding to, the 100, because that's what you're going to underline when you're trying to figure out when you're doing your rounding. So round to the nearest 100. So the number is 428. So we're going to underline the 4 because that's our hundreds place, and we're going to circle our 2. And then we don't need to really worry about that 8 for right now. And so we're going to look at 2, and we're going to think about our little ways that we remind ourselves. If it's 5 and above, give it a shove. If it's 4 and below, lay it low. So 428, 2 is below 4 for sure. So we're going to round it to the lower 100. So that would be 400. And then for 931, we're going to underline that 9, and we're going to circle that 3. Again, right now, we don't care about that one. And so we're going to look at the 3. The 3 is also lower, so we're going to go down to that lower one. If that number, however, was a 5 or a 6, then we would have to go give it a shove. So then the next 100 would actually be 1,000, because 1,000 is 10 hundredths. All right, round to the nearest 10. So I'm going to underline, remember I'm going to underline here, underline the tens place, and I'm going to look at 654. I'm going to look at and I'm going to circle the 4. That 4 is lay it low, so but it's 4 and below, lay it low. So I'm going to, the 600 is going to stay the same because it is not being rounded. 654, so 650 is our rounding to the nearest 10. And then here I'm going to underline that 1, that tens place, circle the 7, and I'm going to see that I'm going to leave that 800 the same, and then I'm going to say 7 is 5 or above, give it a shove, so I need to raise that tens place up, and so it'd be 820. All right, so then you're going to be asked to write the number shown by the place value drawing. And so we're going to start with the ones, 1, 2, 3. That's my ones place. And then I can see that there's 5, 6 of the tens place. These are the 10 sticks, and 2 hundreds. There are no thousands. Thousands would be that big, long one there. All right, so then we're going to come over here. And if there weren't any tens, I'd have to put a 0 in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ones. 1, 2, 2 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 400, 425. If there were no ones, then we'd put a 0 in there. If there were no hundreds, we could just leave it 25. All right, lastly, Sarah has 432 game cards. She puts them into piles of 100. How many piles of 100 does she make? So I'm going to do this one by making that place value drawing and looking at it carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 400s. 1, 2, 3 tens, and 2 little babies. All right, so if she's putting them into piles of 100, so here's 100 game cards, here's 100 game cards, here's 100 game cards, and here's 100 game cards. So right there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, are these part of that 100? They are not. They are extras that would have to stay out of those piles. So how many piles of 100 does she make? 1, 2, 3, 4 piles. All right. You could also look at that number and look for the place value of the 100 and see that there are 4 full hundreds and 32 that are not in that pile of hundreds. So I could also just look there at that hundreds place. All right, my friends. Good luck on your, you're going to go ahead and do the quick quiz post-test like you would do any other assignment. Go ahead and put your text boxes in there so that I can see your answers. And good luck.